You're torn. Chris is torn. He's already ready to get into the chat. So let's just get right into this. Let me just start off with a couple of quick things, and then stuff. I'm gonna give you an opportunity to say anything you want, and then we're gonna get right into this conversation. So I
Okay.
feel like there needs to be a couple of disclaimers that I need to put out here, and I'm hoping y'all hear what's going on. So first of all, I'm gonna make it absolutely crystal clear, and in the event that I don't repeat this later on, I'm gonna say it right now, once and for all. I do not and will not stand for hate. Never have, never will. Full stop. Period. Done. Okay. The opinions, the questions, the thoughts that I have, that I'm going to pose as part of healthy conversation and dialogue is to provoke discussion and thought, and that is what my platform is about. I love to do things in a way that will cause people to have to think. What's up, Aisha? On the
Hey, Isha.
on the surface of it, my
Hey,
line of
Robin.
yeah, on the surface of it, my line of thinking, I'm going to say shouldn't just be taken as agreeing or disagreeing with anything we're talking about. It's just specifically, unless I say that I'm agreeing or disagreeing with something specifically, I'm just posing things to get you to think. And it's okay to disagree, right? Everyone's
Hmm.
entitled to their opinions. And I want this to be a safe place where we can all kind of just share our thoughts and our opinions. And so, of course, as always, we encourage everybody to comment and participate down in the chat. So feel free to do that. And I only have one explicit rule that I always want to make sure is there, and that is people be respectful. Agree, disagree, hate, don't like, whatever. Just be respectful. Say what you need to say, and we'll include you in those comments. Steph, anything from you before we get started on this topic?
You summed it up very, very well. Again, as Kevin said, I also don't stand for any type of hate, slandering. That's not my cup of tea. So I do ask anyone that is joining, please be respectful. Yes, we know that everybody has their opinion on certain things. And speaking of opinion, if
Yep.
you're going to state something, we're going to ask that you back it up with facts as well.
Mm-hmm.
And I think Kevin and I will also try and do that. We're just not going to pick things out of the air and say, well, just make things up as we go along. We always, as if you know us, you know that we like to stick with the facts and what truth is. Again, we have zero tolerance for any type of hate speech. We don't hate anyone, and yeah, that's it.
Yeah.
So
And so with that, without further ado, let's just start to kind of poke the bear a little bit, have conversation. I want
yes.
this to be sort of light,
Oh,
but
I do
also
have
very
one.
entertaining. Go ahead.
Yeah, as everyone knows, I think you might have said it again. We are talking about Kanye tonight. I will let you know from the jump. I'm not a Kanye supporter. I don't know if that's going to have any bearings on anything or anything like that. But I'm not. I don't. Kanye is not one of my artists. I'm like, oh no, I'm not a Kanye fan.
I think that's a good thing to put out there, because sometimes when we have these conversations, it can become a matter of, are you for him or against him? And
Hmm.
and what
Hmm.
I want to do and explore a little bit is Kanye, but not so much about him as a person, but about what this time, this era, the types of things, the conversations that are happening because of the things that he's done. Those types of conversations, I think we need to really dig deeper to. What's
Right.
up, Jay?
Hmm.
And so that's what we're gonna do. So first things first, just to really get the juices flowing, and to think about what's going on. Obviously, we're talking about Kanye West. We're talking about everything that's in the news, right? He's made anti-Semitic comments, and I'm going to say things. Sometimes I'm going to use the word accused or whatever. I'm just going to put it out there. So he's made anti-Semitic comments. We see that Adidas has dropped him, or whether they dropped him or they just canceled doing business with him. There's a lot of other people that are associated with him and his businesses in some way, shape, or form that have all come out and said that they're sort of disassociating with him, and that's kind of what we want to talk through tonight. And so, as Stephanie said, one of the things is I really want to start asking some questions here. I'm going to start with the first one, and I'm really asking these questions. And sorry, one last disclaimer. I know I got all these disclaimers tonight. I don't claim to know all the answers. I really and truly
Likewise.
don't.
Hmm.
I might post something in a way where it might seem like I'm trying to trip you up or whatever. I'm just asking a question.
Hmm.
And so I'm not a doctor. I'm not a psychologist. I'm just asking questions for the sake of it. So the first question I have to get right into it is about anti-Semitism. Okay. And what I'm asking if, and the reason why I asked this question is a lot of places, whether it be on YouTube videos, whether it be on the news, whether it be in articles, the caption typically says, da 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 da, Kanye West made anti Semitic comments.
Hmm.
My question is, what are the comments that he made that people are upset about? And I'm not saying that they shouldn't be upset. I'm
Hmm.
asking the question, what is it that he said specifically that has got people saying that he made these comments? So I'm gonna kind of float that out there for a minute and let people, if you've got a thought or you know something very specific that
Yeah.
you think is the answer to that, I want you to go ahead and put that in the chat, put that in the comments, and we'll sort of take it as we go.
Ooh, wow.
Okay, we got one right away, and we're gonna do our
Oh,
best. We're gonna do our best to try to um, bring these things up. So let me just bring this up here, Steph. I'm gonna
I
highlight.
like what Vaughn did. She went straight for the
She went
definition.
for
I was
went
like,
for the
I was
definition.
gonna bring that
Okay,
up, but
okay. So and man, I already see some big words in here. I don't know if I'm gonna be able to pronounce, so I'm gonna just beg forgiveness now. But relating to or denoting a family of languages that includes Hebrew, Arabic, and Aramaic, and certain ancient languages such as Phoenician and
Phoenician.
Akkadian,
Yep,
Phoenician
Phoenician.
and Canadian, Akkadian,
Okay.
uh, constituting the main subgroup. Man, this is just really wordy. Subgroup
Yeah.
of the Afro Asiatic
Yep.
family
Hmm.
relating to the peoples who speak Semitic languages, especially Hebrew and Arabic.
Right.
Wow, that
I
was
know.
that was
Yep.
that was a lot. So that is a definition of what Semitic.
Semitic is. And now
Okay.
I know why Yvonne probably, I haven't spoken to her in a while, but hi, how are you?
Hmm.
I know I should probably start off with that definition because I think it is also very important to understand what a word means before you could say that somebody's anti something. It
Okay.
does go really, really deep. And I'll stop right there and then we can go on to it after. But
Okay,
go
so
ahead.
I'm gonna bring up another comment here from Chris. It says I think part of it was his DEFCON tweet, which many speculate was an error. Okay, I'm gonna park that. We're gonna come back to that. So I appreciate. See, we're already getting some good conversation. We've got a
Hmm.
definition of
Hmm.
Semitic. Chris is mentioning that it's related to the DEFCON tweet, which I think I'm going to say, generally speaking, is probably what most people are referring to. I think there's some interesting dialogue that might come out of that. But is there anyone else or any other thoughts on what it is specifically that he said that has people outraged? And again, if someone is spewing hate speech, I understand and I agree. I see why people would be upset and be offended and want to speak out against it. But I think at the same time that a lot of times we just hear a lot of things and we regurgitate it, but we ourselves don't know it. And I'm all about doing things in a way that we actually learn something, right? I hate just taking what I hear and just running with it and then being
Hmm.
found trapped, not being able to explain it, because that's the other thing. So it looks like there's not much more coming from that, but I will agree with Chris. I think part of what really kicked it off was the DEFCON tweet. And so maybe we can, and Steph, if you do you have anything to say before I kind of move on, because I don't want to just dominate this
No, no, no,
this
no.
this chat here.
No.
So with the DEFCON tweet, and again, with all sensitivity to anyone that was uh, offended or felt discriminated against based on that tweet, we're not repeating it here for the sake of just repeating it. We're just talking about facts of what we understand he said. And sorry if my eyes are a bit dodgy. I'm trying to keep eye on
I
the
know.
chat here, right? And so we're also just a couple of things. We're also in a new era, time of truth and knowledge. And then also, oops, so I see Robin also said, I've been unclear of what it is he has said. And so what I can talk about and what I will say is just to go back to something I think Chris had said earlier, was that it was in relation to a tweet that he made, which we know has been taken down from Twitter several days ago, not long after it actually happened. And I wish I actually had it right in front of me, so I'm gonna paraphrase a little bit. But it said something to the effect of when he wakes up in the morning, he's going, and he said DEFCON 3, which he tries to explain, and other people have identified that it's the word death was supposed to mean deaf, DEF, DEFCON, which is a military term. We're going to
Right.
get to that in a minute. Um, and so that's what he talked about. He was going DEFCON 3 on Jewish people is what he had said, right? And again, forgive me if I missed a couple of words there, but you get the point. And of course, Google is your friend, so you could Google it and find a tweet.
Yeah.
Trust me. Okay, so that's what it was that he said, and from what I understand from the people that I've spoken to, it's been seen as him sort of waging war or saying that death to Jewish people is the way that it was said to have been taken. Although he has offered sort of clarifications, I'll say,
An apology. Oh, okay.
on there was an apology. Yes, it was an apology, but there was also some clarification on what he was saying. Is that he wasn't saying it to about all Jewish people, even though yes. And here's a couple of things. I'm going to just say something else as well. One of the reasons why I like having these conversations and why it takes so long for us sometimes to put these things together is because in order to really have a wholesome conversation, I really believe that right now we struggle with something in this world where it's everybody gets their news and their facts from 30-second Instagram, videos and reels. That's where a lot of people get their facts from. And before having this conversation, there was a 40-minute TMZ interview I watched with him back with TMZ from 2018. There was the 2-hour interview, 2-hour plus interview he did with Tucker Carlson. And I got about halfway through. I was trying to rush through it today, but I got about halfway through the 3+ hour interview he did on Drink Champs, which is a whole other conversation. And so the reason why I say that is because I think regardless of, and it's not to diminish the impact that the statement, because even though it's a tweet and it's only a few words, we know that a few words could really destroy people, right? So we have to respect that. But I recognize that there was a lot more that he was talking about that did not get the same level of attention than that tweet did. And that's where I think sometimes we lose it. So Chris said he sent me the tweet. Sorry, dude, I'm using my phone right now, so I can't really see it. So if you maybe email
Chris,
it
are
to
you
me,
able to drop it in the chat as well, if that's
if
possible?
that works, or Chris, if you could email it to me, if you have my email address, I don't even know. Then I see if I can get to it. But or yeah, just reword it for us if you could. Make sure you put it in quotation so people don't think you're the one saying it, because we don't want none of that.
Right.
So, that's a lot to unpack just off the hop. Steph, let's take it
No,
back a little bit to the anti-Semitism. Let's talk about what you think, what your opinion is, what you've seen, what you've heard. What is anti-Semitic in your opinion, or what's your knowledge on that topic? Because I think this is more up your alley.
well, Vaughn already put up the definition of what Semitic is. And so, as some of you already know, one of the things Kanye said is that, one of the things that he said is that he is a Jew, right? And
Mm-hmm.
so some people, I don't know if that offended some people, if that was one of the things that was anti-Semitic.
Mm-hmm.
And he said it for a reason. Um, the reason is because if you go back, it also stems from Torah, right? If you were to go back into even reading Genesis in Torah in Genesis 10:32, it gives you the breakdown of who or what someone who is Hebrew would be described as. I'd have to get it for you and share that with you. But he believes that he's a Jew, and based on the definition, if we could go back to the definition for a second.
The
Are you
definition
able to put
of
it up or no?
Semitic. That was the
Semitic.
definition of
Right.
Semitic.
So he even said, like, I cannot be, if I am something, I cannot be against it.
Right.
Right.
Okay. Yeah.
So, yeah. So, sorry, I just lost my train of
Yeah.
thought. I do this so often. I feel so bad.
That's
But
okay. That's okay. So because one of the things he is professing and saying is that he identifies as Jew. That's kind of what you're talking about, right? So he's saying, how
right.
am I trying to kill my people if I am my people. That's kind of what he's, I guess,
If
trying
I
to
am my
say. Yeah.
people, exactly.
Right.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna. So I think Chris did type it in here for us. Let me just put it up here.
Sorry.
This is a quote. This is not Chris's comment. This is a repeat of what Kanye had apparently said. It says, "I'm a bit sleepy tonight, but when I wake up, I'm going DEFCON 3 on Jewish people. The funny thing is, I actually can't be anti-Semitic because black people are actually
Here we
Jew.
go.
Also, you guys have toyed with me and tried to blackball me or blackball anyone who opposes your agenda." Thank you very much, Chris, for putting that up. Really appreciate you typing that all in. That is what the tweet was. And I think what really started it was the Death Con 3. He explains himself that it was actually, I'm not going to say he said it was a typo. What was the exact word he said? Was that he misspelled it. Now, listen, I'm gonna be honest with you and say, I don't like. We can all say he's a madman, he's crazy, he's this, he's that, whatever. Like you're a brilliant guy. Like you can't tell me you misspelled it. Like that to me is you're just trying to poke the bear. You're trying to be a little bit provocative, maybe. I don't personally. I don't buy that. I just misspelled it. I don't buy that personally. But do I?
But you know what? I'm gonna just can I interject for a
go
second?
ahead. Go ahead.
I don't know about that one. I we could give him the benefit of the doubt, but if you don't know, like I've said things in the past, like things like, what's that word? Like it's there's a word that I used to say all the time. I'm like, irregardless. I always thought for years it was irregardless.
Yeah,
and it's regardless. Like
right.
No such word as irregardless. And it's like, okay, well, maybe he thought it was DEF CON, even though he might have knew what it meant.
Right. Yeah, I get it. I get it.
that right. too. That too. I like what Robin says. Is it possible that typing fast and it autocorrect it?
Yeah. All of those things are true, right? And so I get it. This is just me talking for my own self. You know, it could be autocorrect. Trust me, I hate autocorrect because there's so many times things get said in text messages or whatever that's not meant to be said. So I get that. But if we park the emotion just for 1 second and go, okay, so he offered a clarification. And this is one of my other questions, right? Just in general, in today's society of cancel culture, just the question I have is at what point do clarifications and apologies no longer matter? Because if someone makes a tweet or a comment and then clarifies what they meant, are they owed the benefit of the doubt? Is my question. What do you think, Steph?
Are they owed the benefit of the doubt?
Right.
Yeah. Why not?
Right. So I'm gonna go because we got a lot of good comments here. I want to just touch on a few. Let's see. Us as black people have heard him disrespect black people time and time again, and nothing was done. Music was played, clothes were bought. So why be mad now? Okay, that's a whole other conversation, and I might have to dive into that. I'm just gonna touch on a few of these, and I'm gonna come back to that. Right. I agree with the comment. Why be mad now is just Kanye. Is Kanye right? We believe he meant DEF CON, which is another one that is popping up here. DEF CON, yes, refers to United States Defense Readiness System. Level 3 is a point where you are in a readiness position, ready to react. And in fact, if you go through the total definition, you're supposed to be ready to react within 15 minutes. If you get into the real technical terms of military preparedness and stuff like that. And so what is understood that he's trying to say is that all of and when he says Jewish people, it encompasses it comes across as encompassing everybody. And in his clarification, he's basically saying it's the business people that he's used to dealing with, the ones that he feels have been screwing him over and doing bad things to him. He's ready to stand up. Because if you start to parallel this to his behaviors, right? The Make America Great Again hat, the White Lives Matter t-shirt, this content with the Jewish people, the slavery was a choice. All these things that it seems like he's just out here wilding, just saying whatever he feels like it. His parallel to that is that for so long, I've been stifled and can't say anything that I think, even if it has nothing to do with, like, say, a race of people. It's just there are certain things, like even the Make America Great Again, he was saying that people were saying him like, you can't wear that hat. Like, what are you doing? And particularly
Right.
because he's black. Why would you do that? And he's like, you know what? I'm sick of it. I'm going to say what I want to say, and you can't control me anymore. And that's kind of what he's saying. So if that is, and I say if because I'm not him, if that's what he's saying, and if
Hmm.
that's what he's truly meaning, this is why I asked the question: like, at what point do apologies and clarifications no longer matter, right? So let me just go back here. There's a few here that I'm missing. Okay, so we know what DEF CON is. He mentions he's sleepy too. You know what? If you're sleepy, go in your bed. You know what? You don't have to. You don't have to tweet. Sleep. Write your tweet when you wake up and you're
Right.
refreshed. But whatever. If apologies and acknowledgement don't matter, then why do we ask for it? That is a very good point. Thank you, Robin. Right? People come out here. People. I'll use the word make mistakes. I'm not talking. I'm taking Kanye out of this for a second. People make mistakes. People say things. They do things, and then and people demand an apology, and then you get the
Right.
apology, and then you cancel them anyways. So then
Right.
that maybe that's a very good point. Why are we even asking for these things if it's not going to mean anything when it happens? There has been images of white supremacists supporting Kanye in some cities. Okay, I had a whole thing I wanted to
I
sort
saw
of go
that.
in an order here, but these comments are so good I want to touch on
It's not
them
gonna
one by here. It's
happen.
not going to happen. And
Yeah.
so just keep them coming, guys. Here's something again, and I'm going to go back for those of you who joined us late. We don't stand for hate. We're not saying that what Kanye said is correct and he should be applauded for. We're not saying any of that. We're just looking at things from a different perspective. That's what I wanted to just put out there. And so what
Hmm.
I find though is, isn't it amazing that he made this comment and the only, I shouldn't say the only because I don't know everything that's out there, but one of the
Right.
images we find is this image of, and I think it was a group of guys standing on a bridge doing the Hail Hitler sign.
Yep. Yeah.
And I'm going to say allegedly because I haven't read the thing myself, allegedly
Right.
supporting Kanye and basically saying that what he said was right. Although I don't know exactly what they say about what he said was right, but that's the headline that Kanye is right. Okay, but I'm like, there's a lot of other things. As I just mentioned, there was a 40-minute interview with TMZ, a 2-hour interview with Tucker Carlson, a 3+ hour interview with Drink Champs. And the only thing that we can quote is this much of everything that he said in over 3, 5. Like, do you see what I'm saying? There's a lot
Yeah.
of things that he did say that aren't getting the attention. And I'm not saying that if someone says something that's hateful, that it shouldn't be called out. It should be called out. We should deal with that 100%. But there's a lot of other things that are said, and nobody's really talking about it. So I think we're going to kind of get to that in a little bit. So it's just interesting that sometimes
Hmm.
when there is a narrative of whatever kind it is, it's very interesting how people are able to find images of things that support the narrative that you're trying
All of a
to put
sudden,
out
right.
there, right? There are white people supporting Trump. I mean, or like, people like white supremacists supporting Trump, and there's a whole other thing with that. Let me just go back down here. Vaughn says, okay, he is just vibrating on a higher level than most. He was also aware of the fact that the U.S. corporation is dissolved, which also includes all corporations. Okay, I'm gonna admit that's a bit deeper than me. I don't know what that's
Yeah.
about.
For me too. I don't know much about that,
So
so I
I'm not
can't
I'm
speak
not
to
sure what's
that.
about that. But one thing, what I think is kind of parallel that I want to say on that though, is that one of the things I'm gonna say I have to appreciate is the fact that it's when you talk about some of these guys, and it can be Elon Musk, it can be Bill Gates, it could be Kanye, it could be whoever. Like these guys live a different lifestyle than Joe
Ultimately,
Blow
yeah.
me, right? And they're in their life, they're exposed to a lot of things in a lot of circles that at this point in time I have never ever been exposed to and don't foresee myself being exposed to, right? And so
Hmm.
sometimes people that are in certain areas of life are going to say things that to us might sound completely ridiculous.
Right.
But is it? Because it's their lived truth, if you will. So I don't know.
But
What, what
not
are
only
what are your
that,
thoughts on that? Yeah.
but just to add to that too, sometimes they're saying things that may sound far off because we've been told something totally different
Right.
like we've been just told the same thing over and over, and we don't even know what the truth is, so to speak. So when
Right.
they come out with something like him saying that I'm a Jew, I can't be anti-Semitic, it's like, whoa, that's not true because you're
Hmm.
not a Jew,
Right.
right? And
Right.
just to add to what you were saying.
I want to touch on something Aisha says here. So I think society picks and chooses whom gets canceled. Once again, I don't condone any hate speech. Great, thank you. I just find it interesting whom gets deemed canceled and those who get a rite of passage, even without an apology or clarification is provided. Even without, yeah. Always food for thought. It's true. There's a lot of
Mhm.
times when, and what I'm also interested in to tack on to that is I'm also interested in what types of things are said or done that gets people canceled. Kind of one of the
Mhm.
same, because who can, when we say society picks and chooses who gets canceled, it's because I think a lot of times people have a varying degree of what they think is right or wrong, and the general population, the popular society or pop culture, determines what we think is right or wrong, right? And I think that's kind of
Mhm.
what amplifies that a little bit is that we're going with the larger majority of what people are saying, because there's a lot of things that people are saying that nobody's getting canceled over. We're gonna come to that in a minute. I'm seeing the entire system is very controlling. The pandemic was about control. Um, and what else do I have here? So I got another one. Okay, I see Trisha
Trisha.
Star.
Oh,
Trisha said, "Oh, she's got a paragraph
wow.
here. Let me go on this one." Like, and I saw something, Trisha. I saw something you posted today. I was quietly stalking from the background. I saw your post on your page this afternoon, I guess, and I was reading through some of the comments. Very interesting, and I like what you're saying. So, okay, so here it goes. Was Kanye right in how he went about expressing his anger and rage towards these businessmen he had dealings with? But how do most people with bipolar disorder react in rage? I'd say the same way he has. Now, if we put aside the wild things he said about blacks, about Jews, he has brought up many good points, and his comment about Jewish media wasn't completely incorrect when you look at the names of those in the industry in
Same.
powerful
Yeah.
positions they happen to be. Now, it may have got cut off because maybe it was too long, because it seems,
Yeah.
unless that was purposely left that
It
way.
probably happened to be Jewish,
Right?
is what she's probably gonna say, yeah.
So you
Oh,
know
you know
what?
what? I
Oh,
don't think it I think
oh,
she probably did that.
right.
So it doesn't get
Okay,
flagged,
so his Jewish
probably.
comment, he
Oh,
said he
maybe. Okay.
is, and now and how that's how he identifies. We're in a society where men can identify as female, women can identify as men. I read an article about a child identifying as a cat. So why can't he identify as Jewish? Again, this is why I love these conversations, because they're all opinions, and they're all great food for thought. I want to go back
Can
here
I
though.
say
Yeah,
something real
yeah,
quick
go ahead.
though?
Yeah,
Just go
yeah.
back to her last comment. But is it about him identifying as Jewish, or is it true that he is would be considered a
No,
Jew?
I believe he says he's Jew. He's a black Jew.
No,
That's
no, no. I was just
oh,
asking, like Trisha. That comment was
oh
more so for
okay.
Trisha. Like, like if you could go back to her last one, it's so why can't he identify as
Right.
Jew? Right?
So
Like it's so true when it comes to like other things. I had a post where I said, okay, someone a black person identifies as Muslim, it's not a problem. If you identify as if you're into Egyptology, it's not a problem. If you identify as whatever, but
mhm,
why is it when he I know for a fact has reasons to why he believes that we are
mhm.
Jews. So
So and I think, and I don't want to speak on behalf of Trisha, and if she wants, she can clarify. But
yeah.
I think that may lend to people who look at that statement right off the bat and go, "How's this guy saying he's a Jew?" Because I think historically we've been given a picture of what people from certain cultures and whatever look like, and typically you don't really hear about black Jews, right? And you can correct me on this. I'm in a territory that I am not the expert in, so don't shoot the messenger. But I guess maybe that's a nod to when people say, "Oh, that's a ridiculous statement. How can he say that?" To her point is, well, people are identifying as whatever these days. So whether
Mm-hmm.
he says he is or he's identifying as or whatever, it's ridiculous for someone to say that it would be stupid for Kanye to be able to say he identifies as that if that's so what he does. But yet we agree that everyone can identify as whatever else they want to agree with,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
identify. So I think that's maybe what it's talking about. I want to go back because there's so many good things, and I love that this is a
You
great.
posted that one.
I did, but I wanted to go back to
Oh,
something
okay.
about about bipolar, and this is why I wanted to touch on the bipolar thing for a second. Mainly for this, it is interesting to me though as well, and this is not just with Kanye. There's a lot of other people too who have been canceled or have been said certain things about them. It's amazing how in one breath people are very quick to tell these people, "Oh man, you're a genius, you're so smart, you're brilliant." And then all of a sudden when they say something that you
You
don't
don't like.
like, all of a sudden they're bipolar.
You're cray cray.
So what happened what happened to their bipolarism when they were saying the things you were okay with? But the
Right.
minute it's something you aren't okay with, all of a sudden, oh, they're bipolar, they're crazy, don't listen to them. You think of Donda, right? When he put out his Donda album, certified platinum, over 1 million records sold. I mean, in old days maybe that's not so big anyway, but it's like we're so quick in certain ways to label people and say that they're crazy when they say something we don't like or hurts
Mm-hmm.
us or makes us have to think too hard.
Think right.
But yet when that's not what they're saying, and when in their rap lyrics they're talking about kill the op and do this and do that, nobody's talking about how they're crazy. That's a whole other conversation. Don't get me
Right.
started with that. I'm gonna come back to that in a minute. Right? What's
Mhm.
up? What's up, Petra? I see you in the chat. Okay. What else? What else we got? We
Robin.
got a lot. Robin. So Robin saying, I believe he scares people. He's clearly openly talking about stuff, and that is making folks uncomfortable. There seems to be an agenda to discredit and silence him. Listen,
I agree.
I'm gonna tell you right now, that is my honest opinion. I do believe, and this is not against any group of any particular people. It's just a societal thing right now. There is, I feel like there are people of a mix of whether it be the super rich, whether it be certain cultures, whatever. There are people that control certain things. Look at the media, right? How come we can sit here and just do the basic math and say, look, there's a lot of good things happening in this world every day. Why is it we always hear about the shootings and the stabbings, but we don't hear about an overabundance of the people that are starting charitable organizations? Why?
Mm,
Because certain things sell. Certain
right.
things shape the way that we think. So I think it's improbable to believe that there aren't certain people in certain areas that are controlling the narratives of whatever a news station wants to say, right? And so
Mhm.
I do think that what happens is when people start speaking, and I'm going to keep using this word, their truth,
There.
because
Yeah.
it doesn't mean that it's my truth. It doesn't mean that it's your truth. It's their truth. And when they start saying things, people get scared of it. And I know you and I shared something earlier today. It's interesting though that he made these comments, and yet once I haven't seen anyone call him a liar. But that's let me just move to the next move to the next
Don't say
move to
that
the next
louder for the
comment.
ones at the back. I'll repeat it. He's
Right?
made all
So
these
he's made
comments.
a lot of
They've called him
comments,
names. They've called him bipolar. They've called him crazy.
but they
But
haven't called him a
I haven't
liar.
seen. And if y'all have seen it, let me know. Has anybody called him a liar?
It's
I'll
just an
wait. Okay.
interesting perspective for
Let's
me,
keep it
right?
moving. Let's
Let
keep it
me just
moving.
see. Right, there is what? There is no black or white Jew or anything. There's just truth in the organic people. What else we got here? I understand why he believes he's a Jew, and there are many blacks who are practicing Jews, yet receive. I think it's supposed to be backlash,
Backlash in.
lashback, maybe lashback still, from white Jews. Okay,
No.
um, whatever suits the narrative. I see that. I think he's been off his rocker for a little while. Never been a fan of his. Again, I'm going to go back to people say that he's been off his rocker, but you have, and I'm going to leave people unnamed because I'm going to be impartial. But
Yeah.
there are large companies that are separating ties with him. But it's interesting that when he was talking about slavery being a choice, they
Mm,
didn't really
oh,
want to
oh,
go.
oh,
Sorry,
okay.
I don't want to touch
What
too
was
many
that?
nerves tonight.
Okay.
I'm just saying that it's, and this goes back to one of the earlier comments, that it's very interesting how when we pick and choose what you can say and what you can't say. So you
Hmm.
got people out here wilding out talking about how slavery was a choice. Again, 40-minute interview, you got to watch the whole thing. Crazy comment. It came off really weird when I heard it. He tries to explain. I think personally he's trying to recover from what he just said, but that's just my opinion. But like when other things are being said to discredit, let's be honest, people in the black community, there's not a lot of backlash and riling up and stuff. There might be a quick coverage in the news,
Right.
but people don't get canceled. So that's a whole other thing. But yeah, he's been off his rocker, been off medication. He's talked about all of that.
But
Um,
even though,
mhm,
having said all of that, I go back to He has not been called a liar. Is there some truth to what he's saying?
Right? Let me go
Is there
here.
some truth?
Yeah. Let me just.
Richard.
What up, my
What's up?
guy, Richard? Yes. Okay. What's messed up to me is people think that he's lost his mind, but the same people will say men who think they women are women, and that isn't losing your mind. Okay, listen. We did a conversation. Let's talk about it. We did a conversation. The last time we did it was on the transgender teacher, and I'm gonna put it in air quotes because I think we realized afterwards it wasn't really so much transgender. But we talked about that before. Is that you're right? A lot of times people will listen to what he says, and they'll say, oh, he's crazy, he's bipolar, he's messed up, he doesn't know what he's saying. And then there are people that believe in things that defy basic biology, and that's
Mm-hmm.
not, again, let's take the emotion out of it. Take the emotion out of it. Take people's rights out of it. And I put that in air quotes. I'm saying there are things that we've known for eternity, and people won't say, will say you have to accept certain things, but yet something that is more likely true is seen as crazy kookiness, right? So I
Mm-hmm.
I, I, I can I can appreciate that, right?
Mm-hmm.
Um, what is this? So he does say a lot of things that people think and don't say.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of people that have been doing that, right? Um, I smell a Jenner Kardashian brew. So you know what? It's interesting that people want to say that he's a liar and that he's crazy, and I think sometimes it's just fitting. He's being targeted like the Andrew Tate and Jordan Peterson's. There's a lot of people who say a lot of things, and I think that they say things just for like shock value
Mm-hmm.
sometimes, and sometimes they probably damn well mean it. I don't know them, so I can't say
Blessings,
that
dark
for
heroes.
sure, right?
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I just think that that's crazy. Steph, what are your thoughts? I'm gonna keep reading through these comments. Let me know if you got
Um,
something you want to add in there.
exactly with what? Like just
In
everything that's
general,
being
keep
said.
going. Yeah, yeah.
Like, no, I think I
Mm-hmm.
kind of said my piece already. I kind of wanted to move on to something else, but having to pertain to all of this. But I mean, like I said, my whole stance is like, how comes he hasn't, to like what you said, he hasn't been canceled for anything else before. So why now? Why now? And I was listening to someone speak about him the other day, and she was saying, um, before it was, mental illness or whatever the case may be. But when he made the Death Con reference, that's gone too far. But
Mm-hmm.
everything else was mental illness, and you don't think that this part is like, so when does his mental illness come and go? Like, is it because he said something that offended you
Mm-hmm.
that you're now like, okay, this guy needs help, but everything else wasn't a problem before?
Right.
And again, I go back to, how comes they're not saying that he's lying?
Crickets. Right.
I know.
So and it's just it's crazy that's the
And
case that
and
people
I
go
was gonna
ahead. Yeah.
say, I would encourage everyone, when you get a chance, if you feel like it. I mean, Kevin and I like to fact check everything that he said. Fact check it. He says, where did he just pull this out of the air that black people are Jews? Did he pull it out of the air about what the media is doing to him, like trying to control him? Is he pulling this out of the air?
You,
Where's he getting it from?
the comment that he made, and this is the problem when people use definitive terms. When you say black people, white people, Jewish people, it groups a whole lot of people that have nothing to do with what you're talking about into that conversation, right? Which we know, I think, inherently is actually the problem. And I just lost my train of thought because I was trying to think about too many things. But that's, I think what happens is we classify everybody in a thing. So when he was talking about the media, that's what I was going to say. When he's talking about the media, and we say, like, he says, well, the Jewish media. Well, there might be Jewish people who own significant pieces of a lot of the organizations, or the media outlets that are out there. But unless you can definitively say that it is 100% owned, you can't say that it's all owned by Jewish people, because the reality is it's not, right. I don't, and actually let me rephrase that, because I actually don't know. I don't know
Mhm.
if it's 100%. I don't know if it's 1% or 99%. But it seems a little ridiculous just off the top, and I've seen some things, but I have to do more research to find out. but you can't say that everybody is that. But he made a comment that actually struck me. And this is why I always talk about when I hear that people are being canceled for certain things and they've made comments, I try not to excuse it, but I also want to know what came before and after that comment. And one of the things that he was talking about, and this dives into some of the music we were talking about before, is that like there's a lot of people getting rich off of our culture, talking about degrading each other, killing each other, you know what I mean? Bringing each other down. And when we allow that to just be glorified and nobody says anything, but then when another group of people get offended because of something he says and it comes cancel culture, it's like, well, hold on a second. How come when we were endorsing all the other things that people were saying that were counterproductive to our culture, that all of a sudden nobody was saying anything? That's one of the things that I kind of want to just raise there, you know?
Right. And I was just going to say, okay, so here's the flip side of all of this. So Kanye said, you know, all these different things and everything like that. I was going to ask you before I make that comment, Kevin, do you know what, I can never pronounce his name, Lyra, Lyor, that
Oh,
guy?
is it
Leroy?
Lyra Cohen, I think is his
Yeah.
name.
Do you know what his
Or
title
Leo
is?
Cohen. What his title is, I don't
Yeah,
know, but
is he the owner?
I do know that he's heavily influenced in, or he's heavily influenced in the music industry. I'm not sure which labels he's affiliated with anymore and what his stakes are, but I know that he's been around and people have been talking about him from time.
Mm-hmm. I was gonna say because when he was on the Breakfast Club, I think a couple of years ago, and he made like you know they were talking to him, and he was talking about why he signed. They had asked him why. I think it was Charlemagne that had asked him. Somebody had asked him why he decided to sign someone who promotes drugs to his label, and he was basically like, "I got mouths to feed and stuff like that." I could find the video and you can show it, or I
You
sent
know
it to you
what?
actually.
I
So
actually
there was no uproar about that. Go ahead. Sorry.
you know it I wish I had that video. It's too much to sort of. I'm not getting stuff in my inbox now too, so I'm trying to like do too much here. I'm not going to look for that video. It does sound familiar to me, but I'm going to put it this way: if I'm going to just say a big if because I haven't watched it yet and I can't confirm what was said and what was meant. But if what
The
you
video
just
I'm talking about.
yeah, the video you're talking
I sent
about
it to you.
him,
It's only a
right?
minute. Mhm.
I get it, but having to call it up and get it ready and put on here, I'll see if I can do that. You're gonna have to fill the air while I muck around in the back if I need to do that. But what
Okay.
the reason why I'm saying this is that he made in Kanye's interview, one of his interviews, he made a comment, and it sounds a little bit jagged when he describes it. But what he is describing is this, and it sounds similar to what you were just talking about.
Mm-hmm.
What he was talking about was, and he gave this example, which I still kind of hard to follow, but he says, you know, if a black guy gets pulled over by the cops and there's a gun and drugs in the vehicle, right? All of those guys in the car, there's one black guy and three of his friends, all of those guys are going to jail. I don't think it's necessarily true. He's trying to draw an analogy here. And he's saying that, you know, when the one guy does something, everybody gets roped into it, right? But if there's one guy who's, because it's a negative, but if it's the positive, like the dude who's good at basketball or football and gets signed to that contract, all his friends don't get to eat too. And what he was saying was and I'm going to take out Jewish people here. I think what he's trying to talk about is in the industry that is controlled by certain people, not all, but certain people. That like, and to Cohen's point is that like he's got mouths to feed, so it doesn't matter if you're the one guy, your whole group needs to eat. So there's nobody really checking to make sure that there's any credibility. It's all about the money, is what he was talking about. I probably really butchered that, but if we could find the video at another time and really
Mm-hmm.
bring that back together, I think there's a way to really mesh those two. Because to your point is like there's a lot of things that he's saying, and if we can take the emotion out of it and go, but is that fact?
Mm.
And that's what I like to do. Is I like to go, okay, it might be nutty the way you said it.
Right.
It might come off the wrong way. It may be insensitive. It may come across as hate.
Right.
But after I'm done looking at that, I always go back to and go, but was it actually true what he said?
Right. And if it is true, is it hate? If what he's saying, if, right?
Right.
Again, I have to do my due diligence to go. I've done some research.
Right.
So far, it's checked out, right? But
Right.
to go further, if what he is saying is true, is that being anti Semitic? That's my question. If. If what he's saying is true about the industry,
Mm-hmm.
he's only talking about those specific people, not all of them.
If his clarification is that he's only talking about those specific individuals in which he does business with, and obviously he keeps mentioning Jewish people, so we can't avoid the fact that he's talking about the specific Jewish people that he deals with. Then if he's only talking about those people, is that your question? Does that make him anti-Semitic? If it's just he's talking about
Sorry,
those
say that
people?
again. I got distracted. I was reading the comments.
If what you're saying, I want to make sure I understand what you're saying correctly. Is that like if his clarification is what he actually meant was that he was specifically talking about
Oh yeah,
certain
exactly.
only those individuals who happen to be Jewish.
Right.
If he's only speaking about those people, does it make his comment now anti-Semitic? Not
That's the question.
anti-Semitic, right? Is that what you're asking?
Does it make it anti-Semitic?
Yeah, and it's a good question. I don't know the answer to that, but
I'd like to hear what
I'm
people
gonna
have
let
to say.
what people have to say. So, just give me 1 second. Let me try and catch up on some of these comments.
Okay, I know.
And
Whew.
I know there's a
Y'all
lot
are
going on
chiming
here.
in
So
tonight.
let's see. Exactly, there were meetings in the '90s by the Jews to change the vibrations of the music, and you need to interview other artists. Listen, it is no doubt that the industry, especially in rap music, is destructive. People know it's destructive, but because it makes a lot of money, nobody cares. I don't even want to. I wanted to touch on it, but I couldn't find the video. We talk about the young lady with her baby daddy free video the other day.
Got murder on my mind.
Murder on my mind.
Whew.
Talking about Planned Parenthood and twerking outside the Planned Parenthood,
Clinic,
office,
whatever it
clinic
is.
or whatever, and ain't nobody saying nothing.
No.
Ain't no, and don't want to get me on that tirade right now. Let me see what else we got in the chat here. So what is Chris saying? Remember when Jerry Heller allegedly stole millions from Eric Wright and his company Ruthless Records? Ice Cube made a diss song bashing him using anti-Semitic language such as "You let a Jew break up the crew," in quotes. Ice Cube later argued how no one has a problem with Jerry stealing money, but has a problem when he bashes a Jew. Okay. I mean, these are they're just interesting. They're interesting comments or things to think about.
Right.
I think what it is, it's not, again, not trying to justify Kanye's rhetoric and his craziness sometimes. And I don't want to call him crazy if he's bipolar and all that kind of stuff, but like just the way he does things, it just comes off very weird. Yes, absolutely. But again, you go back to it's an interesting point of view. Right, I just think if you think of one thing, you got to think of the other. Mm-hmm. There are lots of facts. What he says is in Israel, most things. I think that might have cut off, Rich.
Yeah.
What I see is in Israel, everything they make money on in. I can't. I know it's kind of cutting off, so I don't know if I'm reading that correctly. So
okay,
forgive
here
me for that. What's this, Jackson? What the hell did I hear? I didn't hear
Yeah,
about
it's talking
that.
about the twerking girl.
Oh, the twerking girl. Oh man, Steph, fill the air for a second.
No, you can't.
Actually, you know what? No, I'm not even gonna.
That video is just disgusting.
I'm not even gonna play it.
It's
The
disgusting.
point I'm making is this, and this is where it kind of changes into the music and stuff a little bit. Is like,
Ugh.
because here's what's interesting to me though is like I'm also looking at. I'm gonna make this a quote unquote black thing right now for a second.
You can say that again. You're gonna make it what?
I'm gonna a black thing for a second because this goes back to Kanye stuff.
Okay.
So you have other prominent, and this kind of goes back to the music. You have other prominent people who are black. Okay, I hate that term, but I'm going to use it anyways. That are black,
so-called black,
right? They're black, and just like we stand up. If something is hatred, we stand up and we stand against it. Full stop, no questions asked, right? So you have folks that stand up for things that are hatred and are seen as demeaning a group of people, right? But yet when it's degrading our own culture, how come we're not so quick to stand up and boycott and cancel and detract ourselves? Like you want to get into all the music that's out in hip hop right now, that what we call hip hop right now. And
not only in hip hop,
I'm just
in reggae.
There's other stuff, right? But what I'm saying is like it's just interesting, and I think this is the type of stuff that Kanye's trying to say, and And if you take the emotion out of it for a second and just think, you go, why is it? And this is absolutely not to be a black or white thing, but we can't not mention that for this to make sense. And that is within our own culture, when we have all of these things that are being said as hatred to us, even by us, no one has a problem. No one says, you know what? I'm just associating with Future. I'm just associating with Drake, or I'm just associating with Meek Mill, or I'm just associating with Rick Ross or with Jay-Z or anyone. We don't say none of that. We don't say
Nothing.
none of
Nada.
that.
Zippo.
Zippo. We're banging music in the club. We're not saying nothing. But if someone says something to someone else outside of our culture, all of a sudden we got to stand up and say, "Oh man, that's intolerable. We can't stand for that." And I'm not saying they should be standing for it. What I'm saying is, but why can we stand for it when it affects somebody else, but it doesn't affect us when it affects us? Crickets again. And it's funny because there was a part in Kanye's conversation on Drink Champs when he makes that comment, and crickets. Because we don't want to talk about the fact that in hip hop we're not glorifying our queens, and you know what I mean. We're not talking about we talk about earning money, but we're talking about it hustling. You see what I'm saying? We're not really
Or
talking
stealing it.
stocks, and right?
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
So I know I'm off on a rant right now, so I want you to sort of kind of come back in. I'm gonna go back and see what else is there in the comments. I'm gonna go back here to Richard was saying. So what I see is what they make money on in America is illegal in Israel. So he has some point. You won't see Jewish people making money off Jewish people singing about killing Jewish people.
That's right. That's right.
Facts. Okay, what else is there? Let's remember this is a hate-free zone. Just bringing up social examples. Yeah, it's completely hate-free zone. Listen, here's my thing. I always say though, sometimes it's touchy having these conversations because it can come across like you're leaning one way or the other. But Tan and I were talking the other day, like how do we get to the next point where we can actually like appreciate people for who they are and stuff like that? And not that you can't see color and all that kind of stuff, but it's like you have to be able to have these conversations, and sometimes they're unpleasant, sometimes they're uncomfortable, sometimes they're going to sound like you're leaning one way or the other, but you have to be able to have dialogue in order to progress as a people. So I just want to say that real quick. All right, Jermaine. Well, we have to first understand where the word Shemitic originates from. It's a biblical term used from one of the three sons of Noah, are Jewish people, the only Shemitic people. Kind of touched on that earlier, right, Steph? Or do you want to say something on that?
That's why I was like fumbling. I'm like,
What I see here, do you know that all these companies also put money to the CDC and their agenda? All big corporations support big corporations. That's just what it comes down to in my humblest of opinions. What is the other one? Kanye West comments made many Jewish people acknowledge that the blacks who were brought to the Americas and the Caribbean are descendants of the biblical Israelites. And then I can't really click on that, but it's in the chat there if somebody wants to go on that and visit that link. You know what I mean? So there's just so many different angles to this thing. But it comes back to, Steph, I don't know if you have the details in front of you, but I know on your Instagram you had put up a couple of polls today.
let me
Instagram.
see.
Do you
Let me
have,
see what
do you
we're
have
at
those?
for the poll.
Let's see what people.
And it's funny because I'm asking people like,
way.
yeah, give me one moment. I'll bring it up.
In the meantime, I'm
talking
just
like you usually do,
navigate.
Kev.
Yeah, I'm gonna just keep navigating into my chat. So Trisha did send me something here. What was that? Okay. So Trisha, what you sent me, I actually saw this today. It is from 2013 stuff. I'm gonna see if I can do this quickly. Just give me 1 second here, guys. Too many computer screens.
Oh, so you can look for other
here.
people's stuff, but when I sent you something, you couldn't do it. Okay.
Yo, okay. You're gonna get your turn in a second here. Just chill. Just chill. Let me just see if you guys can see this now.
Ooh,
you can't really see it, but can I make this bigger? Sorry, again, I got too many things open here. Okay, so this is actually from 2013. It is really hard to see. Trisha, if you can put the link in the actual chat, if you didn't already, and then people can.
But you can also cancel us out, Kev.
Yeah. I don't think it's gonna really make a huge difference. And just give me 1 second to find
And
where my
also just
notes went.
remember, if we're looking at it from on StreamYard, it's going to be bigger on their Facebook page too.
Yeah. It's fine. But this is
Okay.
from 2013, so I know that it's going to be. Oh, see, now you can see my whole thing. So never mind. Trish, if you could just put it into the actual chat for me, that would be great. I'm gonna come back to this view because I don't know what the heck is going on with my computer right now. But basically, what that was is a depiction of I don't remember how many, but everything from Universal Studios to ABC News to Nickelodeon, USA Today, Google, Reuters, a whole bunch of, I guess, top media and movie production companies and stuff like that, and who their president, CEO, founder, owner, vice president, and chairmans are. And this is from 2013. And even though it might have been brief, all of the ones that are in red from the video that I saw indicates, and I'm going to say allegedly, indicates that all of those individuals were Jewish people. And so I think what it's trying to do
Wow.
is to sort of connect
Wait, Jewish
Kanye's
owners?
Jewish people, a person of Jewish
Sorry,
descent.
can you repeat
So
that?
someone who's the president, the CEO, the
Yeah.
founder, the owner,
Oh,
the
okay,
vice
okay. All right,
president,
yeah.
or the chairman. So these top six positions
Right.
in these companies. And on the left hand side
Yeah.
was everything from Universal to Discovery Network and a whole bunch of other organizations. It had the list of all those people and then who those individual in those six positions were. And everybody that was listed in red, actually, I'm going to bring it back up. I think I still have it. Can I show it? What am I doing here? Perfect. So everyone that's in red
Mm-hmm.
is said to be Jewish. Again, fact check it. I haven't fact checked it, so take it for what it's worth. And it obviously says it's from 2013, so it's a number of years ago. But I think it was supposed meant to be giving context to what he was saying was that a lot of these organizations are owned or quote unquote controlled as per what Kanye was saying. So this is just to give some context. So that's what Trish
You know what
was
I
trying to
find
show there.
interesting though?
Yeah.
You know what I find very interesting out of just going back to what with these people controlling and what they put out. Can you make me smaller, man? 'Cause sound like the widescreen thing here.
There you go.
But anyway, uh, it's funny because I'm just like, okay, so these people are Jewish, and it's funny. I'd like to know if they're practicing because even according to the Torah, if this is your like the music, right? So, for example,
Hmm.
music.
Right.
Why would you be? You're supposed to, if you're supposed to be the light of the world, right? Claiming that, then why aren't you putting out music or encouraging people to put out music that's uplifting? If you're supposed to be talking about these
Right.
people
It's
are
well,
saying
it's
that they're Jew, like the Jewish people. Oh, go ahead.
no. I'm just gonna say it kind of goes back to my comment earlier because you know what, the kumbaya kind of blissful music doesn't sell as many records.
The Kumba, not the
No, let's let's
Kumbaya.
let's 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 call let's call
But
facts. Let's call facts facts. I said this earlier. Why
the old,
why why are so
the
many
old,
good news
old Negro
stories,
spirituals.
right? Why are so many good news stories not really overemphasized in media, full, like in general? Because you know what?
Mm-hmm.
Shock,
It doesn't
horror,
sell.
all those things are attention grabbers, right? Why are headlines written the way headlines are written? Right? It's to grab your attention. Those types of things grab people's
Hence the
attention.
reason why. Mm-hmm.
And so if you
Yeah,
again
just
the,
like.
the same the
Mm-hmm.
same the same I'm going to put this way, the same crazy Kanye is talking about that in these interviews. But those things don't get promoted. But why? Why doesn't his rhetoric of the fact that our music is killing each other? Why is that not being a topic of discussion? Because we don't want to have that conversation,
Right.
right? Because that
No,
affects
no,
the
no. Of
money we
course
can
not.
make. We don't need to worry about that. Continue to go to Planned Parenthood and continue to go do those things and continue to destroy yourself. We don't want to have that conversation. We just want to talk about how people are offended. And again, that's
Right.
just just for the sake of putting it out there like that. Back to the comments. 1 second. I believe Kanye is dead wrong for saying what he says with little to no clarification. He's wrong for generalizing on what a small group does, even if the group is heavily influential. I agree, 100%.
Okay, wait. Hold on. Sorry. Read that again, because so Christopher says,
he says, I believe Kanye is dead wrong for saying what he says with little to no clarification. He's wrong for generalizing on what a small group does, even if the group is heavily influential. I agree with that. It's like think of it this way, right?
I see. Okay, no.
Right?
Sorry,
yeah.
I'm a little bit slow sometimes. I get it.
I get it.
No, I get it.
Yeah,
you're right. Okay,
but I'm talking for the
example,
sake of
even him saying, "Well, Vietnam man."
No, go ahead. I'll speak.
Even like the fact where he says, I believe he's dead wrong for saying what he said with little. Even with the fact where he's saying he's a Jew. Like, what are you saying? Clarify that so people can understand what you're talking about. Like, you can't just pull that out there and not give no context to it. But I understand that he's also maybe sort of kind of limited to what he can say. I don't know.
Sometimes.
I don't know. I'm just saying.
What I will say is this. Going back to that, when you say clarify, the problem is, and I talked about this right at the beginning of our conversation, is that a lot of times we live through a 20, 30, 45 second Instagram reel. That is our Bible when it comes to news and all the things that we're supposed to know on a topic. And I've watched a couple of different videos where people were giving commentary about Kanye and other situations and talking about how he was sitting up on an interview for 3 hours. I ain't got time to watch all that, but blah, 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 blah. Well, if you don't have time to watch all that, then you're missing out on the context to the comment you're making. How does that even make sense?
Right.
So sometimes people are clarifying, but people don't want to give them the time to even listen to what the clarification is. That snippet is caught, and we just go, oh, that's it. Block everything else out. That's all we need to focus on.
Right.
And that's what I'm saying. When you take the time
to
sit down and listen to a 3-hour interview or a 2-hour interview, in the same interview, he's actually explaining himself. Mm-hmm. But nobody wants to hear the explanation because that would now make people go, oh, that actually kind of makes sense. Anyways, go ahead.
Okay, so wait. So then I'm going to ask Christopher, did you watch the 3-hour interview? I know I didn't. So I'll be the first to say I didn't. I've only seen snippets of things as well. But has anybody sat down to watch all of his interviews? I haven't. I still haven't seen that 45-minute one.
Like, I know I can speak for myself. I watched the one with TMZ. That was from 2018 when he made the comment about the slavery being a choice, right? And even in that one, he clarified what he was trying to say. Again, it's subjective, but it's still a crazy, ridiculous the way it just was just dumb. Anyways, right? But I did watch the 2-hour one.
Wow, there's a lot of comments coming in. Whoa.
Yeah.
Sorry.
So I'm just saying there is.
We're gonna get to the comments.
What I encourage people to do, as always, is regardless of if you like him, you hate him, you use him as the example in this situation or any other situation, I always encourage people is to, and that's why I started off with the question, like, what was it that he said that was anti-Semitic? The reason why I asked that question is because a lot of people, I would guarantee, would give you the soundbite that you're told is what he said without being able to honestly say, you know what? I actually watched the whole thing, and even though he said this, and yes, it doesn't make sense, and yes, I see where it comes across as hatred or it comes across as whatever, but I also saw X, Y, Z, and that's what I always encourage people to do. Do your homework. Okay, I'm trying to catch up with all these comments here. So
I know.
I see everything here. Let's go back to
chatty.
Just for this generation, back in the day, music wasn't like it is now. We listened to good music that wasn't so derogatory and violent. And I'll admit, there was some stuff. There's always been an element of hip hop that was, a little on the edge and stuff like that, for sure. But it's not like today. Today, and maybe I'm getting old, and maybe call me if you will, but it's like, if it's not bang 'em up, shoot 'em up, it's popping pills and it's degrading, what we call women, and B's and H's and all kinds, like, it's just destructive. but no one
Yeah.
is. Where's the rally cry to cancel those artists? I remember when Eminem first came out, people were ready to hang that guy. Were they not?
I don't know any of his music, but I know who he is, but I don't know his music.
Yeah, he's made Kanye look like a baby orphan. Like he just like he would say some ridiculous things, but people did try to cancel him. They did, but over time it just became acceptable to talk like that. Anyways, let me keep moving to the next one.
Wow. Next one.
Private prisons make lots of money. That's a whole other conversation.
Yo, do you remember that call, that clubhouse we were in, and the guy told us, and he's like, "Where to go?" And you're like, "Yo."
Yeah. People
And
people
who
don't
runs that?
realize. See, and so that touches on the slavery side of Kanye's comments. It touches because he was also talking about like mentally imprisoned. When he was talking about being controlled and stuff like that, is like there's a lot of other stuff that people again don't want to take the time to look into that are all facts. You know what I mean? It's up for people to find out more for themselves, which is true. And which is why we try to do things like this and
Yeah.
have these conversations so that people can hopefully understand. Not that we have all the answers, but hopefully poke you enough to go, you know what? There is other information out there. There is things you can do to get your own source, right? You do need to look up. And here's the thing. When you take the time to do that research and you make up the decision for yourself, then at least you can say, you know what? I heard something, I validated it, now I'm forming the opinion. Versus I heard it, I saw it on Snapchat, that's it, it's done, it's gold. No, it doesn't work that way.
Yeah.
Go back to the 60s and 70s, music was uplifting until we started getting successful in every part of our lives. Listen, it's like, for those of you who follow soca music, right? What's our boy Kivo, right? The other day he was talking, there was a video that came out, it was on one of the soca accounts on Instagram, posted a video, and he was vexed, and he's like, yo, come off with this, guy. Basically, I mean, anyone been to Caravana, right? You gone to a club, whatever. You hear a little soca music, a little reggae music, whatever. You know what I mean? Or got my man, got my girl, a little dance in the corner or whatever, and that's your thing. But this was like, it was like people having sex with their clothes on, pretty much. That's what it was. And he was like, yo, miss me with that. Don't come and tamper our culture with this. And that's what I'm saying. We need to start standing up for this stuff and going, this is just unacceptable. Why are we over sexualizing everything? Why are we now just because it's acceptable?
Everything.
But people are making a killing. Follow the money. People are making a killing. Anyways,
Off of us.
let's go. Oh man, okay, so let me go here. Let's go. Steph,
right.
you read
So
through
let's
this
go.
one, Steph. Let's go.
Man. All right. Let me see what Lady Z's got. Okay. My response to the polls. There was absolutely nothing offensive or problematic about Kanye's comments on Twitter or in his interviews. His comments are accurate. If you want to know who controls you, look at who you're unable to criticize without repercussions. Okay. The media is the media is the most powerful entity on this earth. In the words of Malcolm X, they have the power to make the innocent guilty and the guilty innocent. Black people have the right to bluntly call Black people out and express how we, and it ends there. I think it.
I don't know if there was more. Again, maybe the comments are cut after a certain.
Yeah, it got cut off.
So, and again, listen, we've said from the very beginning, people are entitled to their opinions. It's an open platform. As long as people are respectful, you're entitled to your opinion. I think I personally disagree that absolutely nothing was offensive or problematic. My response to the polls. Oh, okay. So maybe that's so. Let me go back. So my response to the polls. So baby stuff. That's your polls on your Instagrams. Thank you.
Yeah.
There was absolutely nothing offensive or problematic about Kanye's comments on Twitter. I think I would say I disagree, and the reason and I respectfully disagree. I'm going to disagree more so with probably the problematic part of that statement. It's problematic because, in my opinion, because when you put something out there like that, in my opinion, intentionally. Again, who am I to Kanye? Nobody, right? So my
Hold
opinion
on.
probably doesn't even
Like
count.
that. Which,
But I'm just saying, like,
sorry, which comment?
I'm assuming that
When
the
you said when you
comment,
put something. Mhm.
when I say that again.
Sorry, I don't know if there's a delay. I'm noticing that there's a breakup here,
Yeah,
but I was
it's
saying
fine. Yeah.
that you said yeah, that's you disagree. But what is the when you said when you put something out there like that, what is the
Right.
that you're referring
What
to?
I'm referring to is his tweet. His tweet that he's going death con, right? I know we've talked about the fact that he said he spelt it wrong. He's clarified what he meant. It's not, he wasn't trying to say death to Jews. That's what he's clarifying. But what I'm saying though is it becomes problematic once it's out there, right? Now you can reiterate, you can clarify, but that's an after the fact. So what I'm saying, when it becomes problematic is when you and the way that it is because, as we've been talking about, when you say on Jewish people, it can come across as a whole genealogy of people versus I'm going
Excuse
I'm going DEFCON 3 on those guys that have beat me
businessman.
up or whatever. So when I say it's problematic is like I don't think you can just, in the world that we live in today, you can't just throw things out there and go, oh well, because there are repercussions to it. And I'm not saying that he needs to be canceled. I'm not saying that he doesn't not need to be canceled. But what I'm saying is, in today's world, when you put stuff out there, we all know. I think everyone's entitled to say what they want to say. They can have the opinions they want to have, but it can be problematic when you just throw things on Twitter. And this is half of my problem is how many things get misunderstood in tweets and texts and this and that. I'd rather pick up the phone and talk to someone. So call me old school if you will, but I think that's part of the problem. But his comments being accurate, again, I always go back to, again, it's also going to be what parts are accurate.
Well, that's remember I was
Because
asking that. Like,
he said a lot. He said a lot of things. Which parts are, if you know who controls you, you're right. Because this is something that's coming up a lot these days. Is that then this, and I'm not saying that I was trying to allude to this, but it is in line with what I was saying. When he says things about slavery being a choice, right, and it impacts our culture, he's still making the Donda record. He's still going certified platinum. There are certain organizations that don't drop him, right? Don't drop him. But if certain groups, and I'm not just talking about Jews, because people will talk about with white people or this or that, whatever, is like certain groups sometimes always seem to be able to skirt past some of these, or don't get to skirt past because it's offensive to say things to certain people, but it doesn't appear as much to be offensive to say certain things to other groups of people, which is what I'm saying. Anyways, I'm going to get off this right now. What are your thoughts on that, Steph?
you said a lot, man. I
And
don't have anything
I'm
else
on
to say.
a rant. I'm sorry.
I know. I'm just like, oh, I can't even keep up with you, Chatty Patty. But no, that's good because I'm not really much of a talker. I'm just like, I'm your wing lady.
Right. So they went after
But
all the successful so-called black men,
no.
Cosby, Michael,
Okay.
and so on. Yeah, yeah, it's true. Missed the Drink Champs interview. It's an interesting interview. Like I said, it's
I
a
have a
really
question.
long. Yeah, go ahead.
Off topic, but has to do with drink champs. Is this something like I've never heard of drink champs until now? So is this something that goes on all the time? Is it like a
Yeah, they have a
versus
lot.
type thing? Is it like what is?
So Drink Champs is call it a podcast. It's a video podcast. Nori, and actually I forget the other guy's name. There's another guy, I think he's a DJ that is his co-partner, and they always bring on like artists. So they've had everyone, Busta Rhymes, Kanye. They bring all kinds of people up, right? DJ Khaled,
Okay.
all these guys, and it's called Drink Champs because they just sit and drink like cognac and scotches and whatever, and just talk the
Oh, okay.
business. You know what I mean? But it is
No rivers,
actually
no clock score.
right. No res on no clock score, but
Okay.
it is actually. I think I don't know if I don't. I might be inaccurate with saying it was founded, but I know that Puffy has a main stake in it. Revolt is, I think, part of Puffy's brand or something, and so it's all
Okay,
part of that. Anyways,
moving on.
um, but those are they're really long interviews, but they're very insightful. I follow closely and have discussions with his official fan podcast, Watching the Throne. Okay. Do people even know what DEFCON 3 means? It's a military term. It's a defense. We touched on that a little bit
Actually,
earlier.
I did not know.
A lot of people, yeah,
Yeah.
don't know, didn't know. And so, the DEFCON 3, it is a military readiness position. There's basically 5 levels. I'm not a military person, so I'm not gonna sit here and quote it all for you. But there are 5 levels of preparedness, essentially. 1 being the least, 5 being like get ready to drop bombs and
No, no,
nuclear
one
war
being the
tomorrow.
highest.
No, 5 is the highest. 5 is the highest. Let me Google this right now. Let's have this debate.
All right, let me don't
Yeah.
listen. No, no, no. Yeah, yeah. You go Google that and prove me wrong. Who?
DEFCON levels. Okay. DEFCON.
Yeah. What was?
Oh.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah.
Hold on.
What was that? Look at his face.
Oh yeah. Sorry. Hold on a second. So
What was that?
No. Listen. I will look you in the eyeballs and I will say I had it backwards. Yes, I did. Okay. You happy? See, I can admit when I'm wrong. There's nothing wrong with admitting that you're wrong or that you misspoke.
So can I.
But DEFCON, and it makes sense that DEFCON 1 would be the highest, but I was pretty sure that it was actually the opposite.
Okay.
Like I said, I was pretty sure it was the opposite way around. We can rewind the tape. We can re-record over it. We will say Stephanie is right. Kevin was wrong. DEFCON 1. Right? Go ahead, scholar.
DEFCON 1 is the highest level.
Yeah,
But you know
DEFCON
what?
was
I only knew that today because when we had started talking about it, and I really did not know what.
Yeah.
See, I did my research. At least y'all know I did my
yeah.
research. That's
Yeah.
one thing about me. When I hear something, I will take the initiative to go do the research. That's how I knew that.
Yeah.
So I'm not going to sit here and act like I knew it all.
That's okay.
saying,
That's okay. That's
but-
okay. What you're trying to say. Anyway, okay.
Go on, little bro.
Yeah, Kanye has also made music with derogatory language, but recently he has released 2 curse word free albums with positive language dedicated to God and his mother. Okay? So again, is that changed? And listen, I mean, anyone that's listened to any of his songs, whether you intentionally or unintentionally heard it on the radio or whatever, yeah, he's made songs that weren't glorifying either. But you know what? There's a whole other conversation about music artists who are basically guided into the types of music that they will put out. That's not new news. And so I'm
Right.
not suggesting that Kanye put out music before that was derogatory and had curse words and all kinds of other stuff because he was only because he was told to do that. But I can tell you that it's a long known industry thing that just because you're an artist and you're a creative doesn't necessarily mean that you're as creative as you think. Sometimes you're given no, take that one off the album, put another song on it. That is actual facts. Whew, what else we got
Okay,
going
you
on here?
recording artist. I know. And we said we're going to do a hard stop, but okay, let's just finish up these comments.
What do we got here? What do we see? Our dollars are powerful, yet we spend it on these corporations who don't care about our communities.
They
It's
don't really
facts.
care about us.
It is facts. What I have to go to. I have to go, my beautiful people. Always a pleasure listening to you guys. Peace, health to you all. Thank you, Petra. Good to see you. Thanks for popping in. Appreciate you stopping by. Have a great night. What else we got? What else is in the chat there, Steph? I think Kanye could have executed.
But I
his
forgot I
plans
can add as well.
that you can. Yep.
Yeah.
Okay, let's see. He's okay. So I think Kanye could have executed his plans much better, but hey, he's never done things within the rules of society's expectations. A lot of artists were threatened, and we do not talk about that. Yep. That's a good one. Bob Marley was murdered for his stance. Let's cancel Candace and welcome back Kanye. Uh-oh.
I know. I was about to say, yo, Candace has actually spit some truth though. I mean, I'm not a big fan of hers, but she has shared a lot.
I gotta think about that one because they're almost like two peas in a pod though. That's the thing.
Mm.
They feed off of each other. So I don't know if you really can.
He's enough.
What? It's true. Weren't they together on stage with the White Lives Matter
Yeah.
T-shirts? Yes. They're
You
two
know
peas
that?
in a pod.
Wait, was that her?
Yes.
I never knew that. I
Yes,
didn't
that
know
was
that was
her.
her.
It was her and Kanye. Yeah.
I thought it was him and his girlfriend or some. I didn't know
No,
it
no,
was
no,
her.
no, no, no. That was her. Who's this? Chris Lambert, a great guy who is Jewish and who runs the official Kanye podcast and YouTube page. He's also torn on the topic and has expressed his disappointment in the words as it hurt him, but continues to support the community to discuss all things creative regarding Kanye. He doesn't support what he says, but he understands he's usually intentful. And you know what? Again, I think that's part of it. Is sometimes people can say things that aren't. They might be well-meaning, but it comes off completely the wrong way. Um, and that's why I say not just this Kanye situation, but with anybody, is where is the opportunity for clarification and apologies to be acceptable, right? It's still that a lot of times we're demanding that people apologize for things, but then yet they get canceled anyways. Here's my question: do you guys really think Kanye's going to get canceled? Period. I know people are. I know
I think it's
corporations
just a
and
phase.
people are backing away from him. I see that 100%. That's clear as day. But do you think he's gonna fall into the shadows like a Harvey Weinstein?
Not a Harvey Weinstein.
Sorry, sorry, I maybe I touched a nerve there. Yeah.
Where'd you
Another.
go? Fall into the shadows. Like,
Another truth or another thought. The truth can be problematic though. Truth hurts, whether it offends or not. Truth is truth. Um, I agree. I agree.
mm,
And I think you see that
that's a good point. Yeah.
more today where in a lot of the equality movements and inclusion and stuff like that, sometimes there are truths that are out there that you go like, again, certain biological truths that it is what it is. Um, and it may hurt and offend somebody when it seems like you're not acknowledging their truth or their opinion or whatever. But if 2 plus 2 is 4, like, and you're trying to argue with me that it's 1, well, you might be offended, but it's still 4. I mean, I don't know how much more you could really.
I just,
um,
you know what? Never mind.
sorry. Hey, Margaret. Hey,
I'm
Margaret. How you
so
doing?
sorry.
Hope you're well.
Oh gosh.
Okay, just got your back, girl. Okay, let's go.
Like you said,
Oh man, I'm slowing down here. Okay, let's go back. I see Richard added some more here. I'd say Kanye is more free to do
nah,
what he
boy.
wants now. He will get a payout for the companies that dropped him, and he can open his own black owned stores now and products and have the rights to them. What Kanye spoke of goes back to times long ago and continue to this day, but it's hidden and wrong to talk about in Western societies. The big people that play in
Mm.
this do it to capitalize off of those they care nothing about. The Jews run the music industry, and they aren't telling white people to write. And again, it cuts off. So sorry, guys. I
I
guess
know. I
the
think you
things are
can.
so
Yeah.
long. Um, you know what? It
I can.
is. Yeah. Go ahead, Steph.
No, no, I was gonna say
Mm.
the Jews run the music industry, and they aren't telling white people. People said probably to say to write songs about murdering each other. Probably was gonna say
Right.
just
Maybe
picking their
that's
brain.
that's
I don't know.
that's what it was. Very likely. And I think because I don't listen to every genre of music. I'm also willing, and I want someone to, maybe if you can send me some stuff on in my messages on Facebook or even on Instagram or whatever, and let me know what other genres of music promote the kind of lyrics
Mm,
that we promote within the in the rap community. I'd be interested
yeah.
to know what rock artists are promoting violence against people within their own communities. I wonder which country artist is really promoting. No, you know what I mean? Is
I
Garth
know.
is, is Garth is Garth Brooks still around? Is he still reigning? Where are the people that are promoting that? And the reason why I bring that up is to suggest, in my humble opinion, until someone educates me to the contrary, that you could still put out other music that is uplifting, that has more of a positive spin to it, and still make a
Mhm.
gazillion dollars. Because I'll tell you, we might laugh about country music, but country music, if it's not the most lucrative music genre, it is in the very top
Yo,
tier. It
every
it, it has
reggae,
been
every lovers rock song came from a
right,
country,
right.
country music. You know
So
them
so
lovers
let's
rock, Sanchez and
so
all
let's
them.
not yeah let's not act like we have to create destructive music in order to make money, because that's absolutely a farce, straight up.
Right.
So let me just so there's that. Um, Lauren Hill's daughter Selah was also wearing the White Lives Matter T-shirt. Do we want to talk about that? The
Really?
White Lives Matter T-shirt.
Talk
That
about
one's
it.
a
I
very
don't know much about
it's a
it, so I
very
can't talk about it.
well. I guess it to me it seems very simplistic in the sense that it's a T-shirt. Kanye created it, had his designers do it. They did the shirts. He debuted it at some fashion show in Paris or
Was it
France or
Balenciaga?
wherever it was. He apparently, how Candace Owen got it, I think he had sent her a shirt. She happened to just wear, what we're told from her. She just happened to wear it that night, and coincidentally, they both ended up there, and that's why they took the picture together. Because like, oh, hey, you're wearing the same shirt.
Oh,
And then, of course, after there was a big blow up, they started handing them out to homeless people. I don't know what happened there, but they started handing them out to homeless people. There's videos of it. So I guess it's controversial because blank. I'm gonna leave that out to see if anyone has a comment to say about why it is controversial. In business, I think Chris was talking about, in business he's canceled. I think in certain circles he's canceled for sure. I'll agree. But I think it's not as
but
entirely as people may think. Personally,
and just to that. Speaking of business, one of the things that I was talking to you about today, Kev, is that so when you hear, okay, he's no longer a billionaire and his money is dropped to, he's like what, $400 million now. Again, I always, like I was telling my brother, I was saying, Kev, today, you can't watch what people have because you don't know what they really have, right? It's just that money wasn't even his at the end of the day, right? It's
yeah.
just what, all contracts, and he's worth this much, but is he really?
It's sometimes it they look
So
at the value of an asset that is kind of within someone's possession, but that asset doesn't it can be like liquid. It doesn't necessarily mean that you physically have $1 billion in your bank account, hard cold cash, right? Or
mm,
something that you actually have your name to. You can sign a licensing deal that's worth a certain amount of money, and if you go to the end of that contract and you collect on all of that, then technically that's what you're worth. But hey, if you don't physically have it in your bank account, then you don't really have it. What else we got here? I know Spotify
um,
announced that they will not remove his music, but publicly denounced his statements. You get back to, listen, everybody, unless you're really against Jews, right? Unless you're really against Jews, everyone is going to come out with a statement about it. It's interesting though, because for them, for Spotify, they said that, and if I read it correctly, what they were saying was they denounced the statements, but they're not going to remove his music. They'll leave it up to his record label, his record
it's
company
up
to
to
do
his
it.
label.
Okay, but hold on a second.
Yeah.
So then, do you really denounce it? Because it's like saying, look, listen. If you live in my house, right? You live in my house. I invite you to live in my house, okay? And I say, yo, come and put your mattress on the floor or whatever and couch up there for a little bit. And then when I get to a point where I'm like, you know what? I just realized you were stealing from me, or you were doing something really negative to me, or you're abusing my kid or something like that, and I want to kick you out. Yo, I'm not waiting for you to come and pick up your bed. Your bed will be on the front lawn, guy. Why do I need to wait for you to get a moving truck and all these other things? Nah, man. Like, so to me, that one, when I read it, I was like, but do you really denounce it, or is that just a statement? Because like an Adidas, you go, you
Right.
know what, we're done. We're putting it out there. We're ending the contract. Bye bye. Simple as that. Anyways, I don't know the whole intents of it, but
Mm,
that's what it is.
yeah.
Write songs about killing
Oh
people.
yeah.
Maybe
Yep.
that was on the end of it. Okay,
That's exactly what I was saying. That's what I thought you were trying to say, Richard.
come hang out in the garage. We have a genre of music. That's Shaq. Okay, so what else we got? So Kanye gets no payouts. Many of his deals were partnerships, and some were zombie deals as Kanye stopped supporting them, i.e., Gap. Adidas has claimed ownership of all Yeezy designs and colorways, past, present, and future. They also claim that they have stopped payment to him effective immediately. There's always courts that can change that, though. We'll see. I don't know. I'm not saying he needs the money, but that's what it is.
Right.
Don't agree. He is canceled for business. He can run a website of his clothing line, etc. He still has 15 million followers, and for music, he can be independent and still do well. So,
Mm-hmm.
I think, yeah, I agree. I think he might be canceled from doing business with certain people, but it listen, you have millions of dollars. As Richard says, it's not very difficult to start your own thing. Like it's just it's not. And this is the what's funny is like it's a whole different level of life. You know what I mean? Um,
Right.
how these guys can kind of pick up and keep moving.
Yep.
Sell a house and you're back in business. Do your own thing. So that's the whole thing. Okay, so you're calling things. Go ahead, Steph.
Okay, if Kanye would have just glorified drug dealing and thug life, all these companies canceling would be filling his pockets. You can call him crazy, you can call what he did problematic, but you can't call him a liar. And as I said earlier, I have not seen one statement about anybody calling him a liar or anything that he said was a lie. Not yet.
Mm-hmm.
I'm still waiting.
Right.
Me looking out the window, waiting to see who's going to say he's a liar.
Right. Let's go. What else we got? Elon Musk is, I guess that's supposed to be worth over 200 billion and sells his stocks to live off of. Most of his money is tied up in his companies like Tesla and SpaceX. What else we got? People think he started losing his mind when he started bringing up Jesus. Facts. And who might not like that? The music industry owners. There's also a couple of other music artists who, um, at some point or another, turned to their faith and started to promote Jesus and stuff like that.
Mace?
And where do you see them? What was the other? What was the guy from?
Mace? Not
Yeah,
Mace?
no, Mace was one of them. Um, Malice, who was from Clips, he was another one, right? Saved, turned his life around, whatever, and you don't really see him no more, because that's facts. There are people who just don't want to hear that, all that nice, uplifting, non-derogatory, peace-loving stuff. Nah, no, you can't make money over here. What was this? Spotify. What else do we got here? Spotify also mentioned that his speech does not violate their anti-hate policy. The position is a bit what?
What?
I didn't did I read that right? Spotify also mentioned that his speech does not violate their anti-hate policy. Their position is a bit of a contradiction. I might have to look that up when we're done. That is very
Yeah.
interesting. I didn't see that. All industries owned by a Jewish owner cancels out any interview when they bring up Jesus or told can't write scriptures on shoes, etc. It's in basketball, NFL, everything. There is
Wow.
absolutely a lot of things again that people just don't want to talk about. And again, you know what happens is I'm gonna keep saying it is that when we use the word Jew or Jews or whatever, it groups a whole lot of people together. But the reality is there are businesses, organizations that are run by Jewish people, and all power to them. And so when you look at these situations, you got to be very specific onto what you're talking about because sometimes people just want to make it about everybody. So we're not trying to label everybody as one thing. Let's stick to that. So what is that?
Oh, because
What
we had
extents?
talked about
Oh,
people that were used to sing a certain way and now or rap. So she's
Right.
talking
Oh,
about Lady
okay.
Saw here, Sister Marianne Hall. But I think she's
Okay.
I don't know if she's still doing it because I saw a post recently where she's like, I'm done. I could be wrong though, but
Right.
yeah. Next
Um,
one.
so
Go ahead,
yeah,
read.
I mean, we've talked about that, right? Oh yes, you know what, I did catch a clip about the diss track. I haven't heard it, didn't watch the video.
Oh
Um,
yes, yeah, I was watching that today.
I was on the train coming home when I saw it, but I was busy trying to watch the whole 3 hour video, so I kind of went past it. But yeah, I've seen it, and you know what? I mean, that's gonna happen, but it's just crazy. This whole entire situation is another cancel culture situation. Um, I think, as you said, Steph, it's interesting that he has said a lot of things, and the one thing people haven't talked about is that he
Cultural
is a liar, right?
appropriation like that.
What's that? What?
I was reading her last part where she's like, "Oh,
Oh,
go back."
sorry, go
I
back.
don't hear anyone canceling Jewish people for cultural appropriating the diss track.
Oh, come
It's
on.
like God,
So my point is, Kanye speaks some
right?
real hard facts. Some people's feelings might get hurt, but facts trump feelings. That's
Um,
this is. I will agree with that. I think you've heard me say this stuff a hundred times. Is that like
mhm.
sometimes you got to take the emotion out of things, right?
That's it.
I'm
Hmm.
not discrediting anybody's lived experience. I can't tell someone what should or should not offend them. That's not my place. But I do believe 100% that, when you're speaking facts, you speak facts. This is why,
Right.
even like today, you talk about sometimes people come on a platform and they're giving all kinds of dialogue and information, but they haven't done the research. They haven't looked at the whole thing. And sometimes you have to do that in order to have the facts. And people don't like the hard truth. You remember rest his soul, Kevin Samuels. We talked about him
Oh,
when he was doing his thing on YouTube. Yeah,
yeah.
there was sometimes he would say things you'd be like, "Ouch, that hurts." But I'm like, "Bro, it's right." Like, it doesn't matter what you think. It's what he's saying is actual fact, and people
Give
don't
them an
like.
example, Kev.
No, I'm not gonna get into all the samples right now, right? I'm just saying though that it is facts, and a lot of times people don't want to hear the truth, and that's why you end up in a situation where people try to silence. And we talked about this when we had the last conversation. Is why every because this actually kind of bugs me for more ways than one. But it seems like every day there is an ick for everything. Everything is a phobic of something. And
Mm-hmm.
the minute someone says, believes, or talks about something that people want to shut down, it's instantly labeled as an obic, whatever it is.
Yeah.
And I'm like,
Some
why
obic.
can't
Yep.
people just have an opinion that does not align with yours? There are things that
Exactly. Simple. I
sometimes
don't
me,
have to go ahead.
right, there's
Sorry.
sometimes you and I have conversations, and you'll say stuff and I'm like, yeah, I don't know if I can't think of one off the top of my head right now, but like we just have different views on certain things sometimes, and I'm like,
Yeah.
okay, like, do you, that's cool, that's what you believe, and whatever. I'm not gonna be like, oh, you're like whatever. It's just that's your opinion, cool. What's wrong with that? Okay, a couple more things here, and then we'll probably jump out. Clarification: music from the artist now known as Ye did not violate anti-hate policy. Spotify chief Daniel Ek told Reuters they're taking the money. What? They're taking the money is money approach.
Is money approach?
The money is money approach.
I don't know what that is.
I think that's more of like, I think maybe what that is like, you know what? Money's money, man. I don't care what you say. Money's money,
Oh, I
bro.
see. I see
You
what
know what I
you're saying.
mean?
Right.
It's like because it's the same way. Like I can stand up here and say, you know what? I disagree with somebody, with hate speech. I disagree with somebody being prejudiced against someone or racist against somebody. I could say that, right? But at the end of the day, these guys are like, well, they can say it, but what are they going to do about it is the question. And if they're not going to do anything
Hmm.
about it, well, then, kind of shut up. Kanye spoke the truth and said a lot of things that others are thinking but not saying. Could he have articulated it better? Yes. But the simple fact is he's not going along with the narrative, hence the reason why they don't approve.
Gone.
And
Yep.
again, sort of brings it back full circle to the very beginning. Um, Good to see you, Richard. Thanks for popping in. Really appreciate your comments. Hope to catch you on the next one.
Thank you.
But yeah, just going back to this real quick, that is ultimately what it is. When somebody is saying something that a group of people or anybody doesn't want everyone else to hear or even have insight to, they shut it down. There's been a lot of other rappers who have started talking about some of the inner workings within the music industry, and some of them are too big to be shut down technically, like a Jay-Z, for example. But there are a lot of people who've been talking about it from time. So at the end of the day, guys, I feel like I believe in freedom of speech. I believe that people have the right to think what they want to think. They have the right to say what they want to say. I do believe that at some times, depending on what it is you're actually saying, you're going to be held to account for what you say. You're going to be held accountable, and I think that's fine. But like to just shut somebody down and not give them the opportunity to clarify and at least be validated by their explanations, I think is a very scary situation, because this could happen to anybody at any place you work or any place that you frequent. So something I want to just kind of end off on there. Last one for this one. Thanks for the show. I'm finding that more and more people are coming to the defense, to his defense, and that scares the public. It's true. Anyways, Steph,
This has been
everybody
great.
else, it's been a
Thank you.
great one.
Sorry.
Hopefully,
Man.
people have learned something or taken something away. I'm glad to see that people were very free and open to share their opinions. Thank you, everyone, for every one of them. And listen, again, people agree, disagree. That's cool. But we just want to have conversations. So that's what we're here for.
That's it. I don't know what
That's
else
it?
to
Okay.
say again. Thanks. We got to actually, Kevin and I actually have to get back on a schedule. We can't, life gets a hold of us, and no excuses. Really and
Yeah,
truly, no
we
excuses.
keep
We just
saying
gotta
that.
step up our game. I know
Yeah.
it's
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, but I really do love this platform. Good night, Kathy. And yeah, we will continue to keep doing these podcasts. So please don't hesitate to give us some ideas of what you want us to talk about. I think we just scratched the surface, because we have more that we actually want to talk about today. But I mean, we're what, 2 hours?
Almost.
Yeah, we're
An
just
hour
at
and
about the 2 hour mark. And we said we're gonna come off at 10 o'clock, I think I said.
So,
So night,
all
Kathy.
right.
Oh, both
Adios.
Kathys.
All right.
All
Have a good
right,
night.
fam.
See you guys.